How do you change lifetime ingrained thinking? Like those of you who've been overweight and struggled with weight your whole life, that's not a weight problem, it's a thought problem. Those of you who have struggled with addictions for a lifetime can end them by reconnecting to the place of well-being from which you came. But that's it's too broad, it's too generic. You have to look at the ways that you have been thinking, especially when you've been thinking about, I can't attract into my life what I want. I can't have the right person in my life. I can't create the job that I would like to have. I can't do what I have a calling. I know I have a passion about something, but I can't seem to bring it into my life. When you shift all of that and begin to ask yourself the question, there's 7 of them. I don't have time to go into all of them, but the first of these 7 questions is to look at a thought that you have and to say to yourself, is it true? Is the thought true? And you're going to find out that virtually every thought that you have doesn't pass the test of whether it's true or not. That is, does it pass the veracity test? The veracity test is it true 100% of the time? Let's say the excuse or the thought is, it's going to be very difficult for me to change. It's going to take a long time for me to change. Those are 2 of the most common reasons that we have. It's not been my luck. I've never had those kind of experiences before, and so on. But if you can just take, it's going to be difficult, it's going to take a long time, and you've got some kind of something in your life that you haven't been able to change. And you ask yourself the question, is it true? Is it really true 100% of the time that it's going to be difficult? You have to say, let's see, and that it's going to take a long time. It's not 100% sure. And if it's not 100% sure, that means there's some opening there for it not being true. And if there's an opening for it not being true, it's not true, isn't it? If there's an opening for it not being true, it's not true. So, and if it's not true, the likelihood that it will take a short time and that it's going to be very easy is just as probable as it's going to take a long time and it's going to be difficult. So you begin to change that thought, and then you start saying what Byron Katie has taught me, which is to ask yourself the question, what would my life look like if I couldn't have the thought that it's going to be difficult for me to change? What if I couldn't have that thought? What would your life look like? Those of you who would like to create something in your life or overcome an addiction or lose the weight or whatever it is that you would like to have for yourself in your life, and you couldn't have the thought that it's going to be difficult and take a long time, what would your life look like? How would you feel? Just shout it out. How would you feel? Free. That's always the first word, free. What else? Happy, joyful, grateful. So now you have an option. There's a whole bunch of these. And all of them are on this like positive thing that we'd really like to have. Wouldn't we like to have happy, joyful, warm, free thoughts? To be free? And now you have this option. And you begin to examine this with every excuse you have in your life. And the option is, if I'm going to think a thought, and the thought that I'm going to think is not true, but it's going to make me overweight, unhappy, depressed, fearful, anxious, whatever it might be, and I have that choice, or I have the choice to think another thought which is or is not true, but it will bring me freedom, warmth, joy, gentleness, happy, gratitude. It will bring me that. Why wouldn't I make that choice? Why would you choose to have a thought? I did a seminar in Maui. Was anybody here that was there? Were you in Maui? You were in Maui? Do you remember the woman that was, she was binging and purging? And I brought her, I asked permission, I bring you up. Now, this is a woman who'd been binging and purging for 23 years. Can you imagine what her world was like and her body was like and so on? And she was tearful, and when you looked at her skin just looked like it was almost like you could see right through it. She was there for 1 week. Well, she kept saying, I think I could do this if I could stay longer, but I can't stay longer because it's too expensive on Maui. So I gave her $1,000. I said, just see how this works? It's just amazing. And Maya came rushing up in the back with 10 $100 bills and planked them in her hand. And she also gave $100 of her own. So she had $1,100. So now she had a place to stay for the next 4 or 5 days on Maui. And that excuse was gone. And for 7 solid days, this woman, for the first time in 23 years, did not binge and did not purge. Her body was aching inside, but she didn't do it. And we brought 3 people up who I just felt wanted to quit smoking. And each one of them as we went through each thought about how difficult it was going to be to quit smoking, something that they wanted to do but couldn't because of their addictive nature and blah, 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 and all the excuses. And every time they would come up with an excuse, I would ask them the question, is that thought true? Are you sure it's true? And then as she would think about it, she'd say, no, it's not true. So you're using a thought that's not true to continue to keep an addiction going. And as you begin to look at not just what to think differently, but how to think differently, and recognizing that your thoughts have energy. But it's just now the greatest joy that I find is in being able to live at that place. And that living at that place of just giving and just offering and taking nothing and just surrendering and offering it back has been so incredibly magnificent for me that so much comes into my life now, so much more. I don't mean just like I'm making good money and things like that. I'm talking about amounts of financing and so on in such large proportions from, like, Your Erroneous Zones is the #1 book in South Korea right now. That was a book I wrote in 1976. They sold 107,000 copies in the last 6 months, and I got a check for $83,000. Now, what do you do with that? It isn't what do you do with the $83,000. It's what do you do with that kind of law of attraction working in your life, because you're no longer attached to it. There's so many paradoxes in the Tao. There's so many. You can only achieve fulfillment when you achieve emptiness. You can only hear answers by silencing your mind. This is half of the Tao. You can only become rich by knowing already that you have enough. You all have to know that and not be consumed with more. If you say to the universe, give me, give me, give me, the universe's response back will be exactly the same. You're aligned with that. It will align and give you experiences that match your desire. It'll say, give me, give me, give me, and you'll constantly feel under pressure and never able to arrive. If, on the other hand, your message to the universe is, now this is a total paradox. If your message is, how may I serve? How may I serve? Just teach me to serve. Teach me to be a better person. Teach me to be like you. Teach me to be like God. Just let me remember how to do that, how to do that, how to do that. The universe's response back to you, I'm telling you, I'm the guy you came to hear. I've got the mic. This is my experience in life. And I'm telling you, the universe's response back to you in spades will be, how may I serve you? How may I serve you? How may I serve you? That's how it works. And I opened up with what I was talking about when I opened up with this idea that when you go to the extreme on what I'm speaking about, when you go to the extreme, and it's not something that you're doing so that, okay, God, notice this, watch me, I'm giving even more, look out, come on, where the hell is it? When's it coming? You know, it's like, I'm doing this because this is who I am. I don't not steal because stealing is against the law. Lao Tzu said, anything you do because it's against the rules means you've left the Tao. You don't steal because stealing is not your nature. You don't lie because lying is no longer your nature. You are giving because kindness is your nature. It becomes your nature, and then you don't want any more. And the universe just keeps providing. You can only reach paradise by realizing that it's already within yourself. You can only reach paradise when you know it's already within you. That paradise is wherever I am. This is what I take wherever I go. I take this kind of a consciousness, this kind of a shift. And that year of 2006, from January the 1st, I finished it on December the 31st, 81 essays, each one ending with a section called Do the Tao Now, so that you can go out and put this thing into practice in your life on a daily basis. And some of them were tough. And when they were tough, I said so in the essays. I said, if you think this one's tough for you, I had to read this verse 1,000 times, and then 1,000 times more, until I finally got it. And I keep looking over here at Joan Borizenko, who's sitting in the second row here, one of my dearest friends, the smartest woman in the world. That's what I've always said about Joan. But I just read The Soul's Compass. Thank you for sending it to me. And so much of what I see you nodding, and your husband, I see you nodding, because so much of it is in there, in that Soul's Compass. What a beautiful job. That's really one great book. Thank you for writing that. The Soul's Compass. So, I'm conscious of the time, and I'm only into the introduction. But what I want to speak about for a few moments is what Lao Tzu has offered us with the Tao Te Ching and the Hua Hu Ching. What he's offered us is what to think. Think flexible. Think soft. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. Think small. Sages create big things by thinking small. Never think big. Think about what you can do in this moment. Be flexible. Live like water. Why is the ocean the strongest force in the universe? Why is it the strongest force on the planet? Because it stays low. It stays low. It stays way down here. Well, this is a yoga posture. I love that. Yeah. And it stays low because it knows that all of the rivers and all of the streams will come to it. Ultimately will come to it. It said that you can find your truth in nature. Got to read this to you. This is from the Tao. A spider is a perfect creature of Tao. Its body is an elegant expression of its mind. It spins beautiful threads, and its legs are exactly suited to create and walk its web. From its center, a spider radiates its world out with a spare economy. A spider's posture in regard to the Tao is to set up a pattern. Its mind determines this pattern. It realizes the flow of Tao and does nothing to interfere with it. It simply creates its pattern and waits for Tao to bring it sustenance. That which comes to it, it accepts. That which does not come to it is in no way any of its concern. Once its web is established, a spider does not think of expanding unnaturally. It does not make war upon its neighbors. It does not go for adventures in other countries. It does not try to fly to the moon. It does not build factories, on and on. It does not get concerned. It does not get concerned with what its neighboring spiders are getting or not getting. It totally and completely has surrendered to the Tao, and whatever it brings it is happy with. And whatever doesn't come its way, it is happy with.